You're listening to Audiology. Support this channel by becoming a member, and be sure to submit your requests for topics in the comments below. Born in Sussex County, New Jersey, to English parents, Poole and his family moved to New York City in 1832. There, they opened a butcher shop in the bustling Washington Market, Manhattan. Poole, mastering the family trade, eventually took the reins of the family business. During the 1840s, alongside his work at the butcher shop, Poole got involved with the Howard Red Rover Volunteer Fire Engine Company No. 34, located on Hudson and Christopher Streets. It was around this time that he founded the Washington Street Gang, which would evolve into the infamous Bowery Boys. In those days, New York City frequently grappled with fires, making volunteer fire brigades essential for keeping flames at bay. These brigades, including Poole's, were often linked with street gangs and seen as performing a public service. These groups were fiercely competitive, constantly vying for the privilege of extinguishing fires. A crafty tactic emerged among the Bowery Boys to maintain their edge in this rivalry. Whenever a fire alarm rang, a Bowery Boy would rush to locate the nearest fire hydrant. Then, cunningly, he'd place an empty barrel over the hydrant to hide it from rival groups, sitting on the barrel to guard it until their own fire engine showed up. This strategy frequently led to skirmishes over access to the hydrants and, ironically, left little time actually to fight the fires themselves. William Poole, who was quite a large figure for his era, tipping the scales at over 200 pounds and standing around 6 feet tall, had a reputation that was hard to forget. His approach to boxing was anything but conventional. Actually, it was downright brutal. As described, he was well known as being a notoriously dirty fighter, not averse to biting off noses, gouging out eyeballs, or beating a man to jelly. These were not the kind of fights that were officially sanctioned. In other words, the level of violence in his bare-knuckle bouts was off the charts, making them outright illegal. Beyond the ring, Poole was equally formidable with a blade, a skill likely honed from his day job as a butcher. His life off the job was marked by heavy gambling and drinking, which eventually led him to transition from running his family's butchery business to opening his own bar in the 1850s. He named it the Bank Exchange, a place likely as spirited as Poole himself. In New York, street gangs often changed their names and merged with others, creating a fluid membership landscape. A notable figure in this scene was Poole, who led the Bowery Boys, a super gang he formed by uniting his original Washington Street Gang with numerous others. Among the gangs absorbed into the Bowery Boys were the American Guards, Atlantic Guards, True Blue Americans, and the Order of the Star-Spangled Guard. These groups mainly consisted of nativist white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, staunchly opposed to giving voting rights to the increasing number of Irish Catholic refugees escaping the Great Famine. These gangs, including the Bowery Boys, shared a deep sense of patriotism and a belief in limiting immigration, viewing the country as having reached its capacity for newcomers. Poole's gang was based close to the Five Points area, now part of Chinatown in Lower Manhattan, a place where many Irish Catholic immigrants found their first homes in America. In response to the Bowery Boys' aggressions, the Irish formed their own gangs, with the Dead Rabbits emerging as the chief rivals. The conflict between the Bowery Boys and the Dead Rabbits was driven by ethnic and religious tensions. Their feud was infamous, marked by frequent and violent clashes, especially along the Bowery or in the Five Points area. Both groups were known for their street fighting skills, with open spaces often serving as their battlegrounds. Poole, a notorious fighter, allied with other gangs that shared his ideological views, reinforcing the rift between his group and the immigrant gangs. William Poole strongly opposed the Democratic Party's control in his area, mainly because they were open to immigrants joining their ranks. The street gangs connected to Tammany Hall, the Democratic stronghold, were in the business of safeguarding Irish Catholics. These very people were the targets of Poole's Bowery Boys, who he would send out to scare immigrants away from registering to vote. Essentially, Poole and his Bowery Boys acted on behalf of the Know-Nothings, a group that was openly against immigrants, particularly Catholics, and wanted to keep politics in the hands of native-born Protestant Americans. The New Orleans True Delta explained the Know-Nothings mission as having both religious and political motivations, aiming to stop immigrants from voting or holding office and to continuously oppose the Catholic faith. Initially, this group was named the Native American Party, but by 1855, they were known as the Know-Nothings, a party that insisted its members be born in the U.S. to parents who were also born here, and importantly, not be Catholics. Their primary concern was to ensure that Protestant values remained at the forefront of American political life, and that immigrants, along with their descendants, were kept out of the political sphere. In a turn to politics, Poole was chosen by the Whig Party in April 1848 to run for alderman of the 6th Ward. However, his campaign didn't do well. He only managed to collect 199 votes, landing him in last place tied with his fellow party candidate in a field with 4 others. A few years later, in 1853, Poole got a position representing the 6th Ward on the New York City Board of Education. Poole, a notorious gang leader and fighter, often found himself tangled in violent episodes. According to a report by the New York Daily Times on October 23, 1851, a particularly savage incident occurred on Broadway. Early in the morning, 2 well-known fighters barged into Florence's hotel, located at the corner of Broadway and Howard Street. Without any reason, they viciously attacked the bartender, severely beating him until his face was horribly disfigured. Thomas Heyer, William Poole, and their accomplices stormed into the hotel. While one held the bartender, Charles Owens, by the hair, another member of their group battered his face, severely damaging his left eye and tearing his cheek flesh in a gruesomely violent manner. Their brutal attack did not stop with Owens. They also attempted to find and similarly assault John Florence, the hotel's owner. Failing to locate him, they destructively cut up his hat and stomped on it. After completing their ruthless act, they left the scene. Owens was promptly given medical care and subsequently went with Florence to the Jefferson Market police station. There, they reported the brutal attack, leading Justice Blakely to issue arrest warrants for Heyer, Poole, and the others involved, which were handed over to Officer Baldwin to execute. It was later revealed that the attack might have been triggered by Owens's refusal to serve them drinks after already having served them twice before. John Morrissey, who hailed from Ireland and worked at Tammany Hall, a political organization, became known as a major rival to Poole. Not only was Morrissey involved in politics, but he was also a celebrated fighter in the world of bare-knuckle boxing. He threw down the gauntlet to Poole for a match. Despite coming from different backgrounds and supporting different political parties, their conflict might have actually started over a bet Poole placed on a different boxing match. This match, held at Boston Corners on October 12, 1853, had Poole betting against Morrissey in favor of Yankee Sullivan. The end of that fight was controversial. Sullivan was winning against Morrissey when Morrissey's friends caused a distraction, leading Sullivan to step out of the ring. The referee then declared Morrissey the winner for being the last man standing in the ring. Poole disagreed with the decision for Morrissey to get the prize money. This disagreement led to the 1854 bout between Morrissey and Poole, which ended with a victory for Poole. In a dramatic turn of events on February 25, 1855, Louis Baker and Jim Turner, reportedly acting on Morrissey's orders, attacked Bill Poole at Stanwix Hall, a popular bar on Broadway near Prince Street. The New York Daily Times captured the essence of the night in their report the following day, calling it a terrible shooting affray in Broadway, where Poole was fatally wounded. This incident marked yet another chapter in the ongoing feud between Morrissey and Poole, leaving Broadway in shock, as several others were also severely injured. Tragically, Poole succumbed to his injuries on March 8, 1855, at his Christopher Street home, leaving behind a wife and a son named Charles. The battle between him and Morrissey had been a public spectacle, dominating headlines for weeks. Reportedly, Poole's final words were a patriotic, "Goodbye, boys. I die a true American," although another account suggests he identified Morrissey as his assailant right before dying. Poole's funeral in Brooklyn's Greenwood Cemetery was a massive event, drawing thousands of onlookers. Louis Baker, one of the shooters, managed to escape New York City with assistance from Daniel Kerrigan, a local political figure with Irish roots who expressed support for Baker. This led to an intense international manhunt spearheaded by Poole's allies in the Know Nothing Party. Baker's attempt to flee to the Canary Islands was thwarted when he was captured at sea on April 17, 1855. Despite being brought back to New York City for Poole's murder, Baker faced 3 trials that all ended in hung juries, ultimately allowing him to walk free. Morrissey, on the other hand, moved on to open several Irish pubs, amassing a fortune estimated at $1.5 million. His later years saw him serving as a New York State Senator, and then in the U.S. House of Representatives. Morrissey passed away in 1878 and was laid to rest in a Roman Catholic cemetery in Troy, New York, the town where he grew up. Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more content.